So let's kick off this second event in our Diversity and Inclusion Week. Welcome everybody, both here in Copenhagen, but also online from the different locations. I'm Bettina Jørgensen, and I'm recently joined twice Steerco here in Copenhagen. So I'm very pleased to present for you the speakers today. We have Tina and Lisbeth, and they will talk about the breaking the bias, and also I guess a bit from the feminine, masculine perspectives, perceptions, what to call it. I will leave it up to them to present themselves and more about their presentations and the topics. But just for you to know, we'll end the session with a Q&A. So here you go. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation to talk. My name is Tina Monberg. I am a corporate lawyer by background, and now I'm working primarily as a mediator. And today we will look into the mediation between the two genders. So welcome.
Hi, I'm Lisbeth. I've been working with organizations and development for more than 25 years, both as a leader and as a CEO in my company. And like Tina, I'm very interested in how we can help companies be more diverse and inclusive. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
So we start with this picture of a bird. And why a bird? Because a bird has two wings, and you need two wings to fly. So what we would like to talk about today is that there is a huge bias, the bias between masculine and feminine qualities, principles, values, whatever you call them. So it's not about our gender we will talk about. We would like to take a step deeper. So please come with us on this journey. And hopefully you will, after this presentation, think, okay, we have two wings, a female and a masculine. Do like that, you can't hear me. So we would like to use both of our wings. So this is what our presentation is about. In the Danish legislation, I have a background as a lawyer, as I said. You have the equal rights. It's mentioned in the Danish legislation, and you have equal worth. But in the Danish legislation, the lawgiver hasn't described to us what is equal rights and what is equal worth. What we see is equal right is a competition to say we would like equal pay, we would like equal opportunities, etc. But this will very fast turn into a competition between men and women, between our two genders. And it could turn into a win-lose game. I know males that are saying we do not have any chance anymore and the women are taking over and so on. So what we would like to add to this presentation is equal rights is so important. But equal worth is even more important, because equal worth is about that masculine and feminine qualities are of same value. So I will repeat it again. Feminine and masculine values are of equal value. And this is beyond gender. It has nothing to do with men and women. It's about the feminine and masculine qualities. And traditional, we think, we went to Maersk and did a presentation like this one. And the feedback we got was that isn't masculinity about men and femininity is about women? But today, what we would like to bring you on this journey is it has nothing to do with gender. Today, the contemporary definition is that a man could express feminine quality and a woman could express masculine qualities. So it has nothing to do with gender. Okay. Yeah, they were hidden. I would like to quote Susan Sontag. What is the most beautiful in virile men is something feminine. What is the most beautiful in feminine women is something masculine. And I've chosen a picture of Obama. Obama had very many feminine qualities. And I think that was a reason why he was elected as a president as well. If you look at Catherine Hepburn, she has a lot of masculine qualities. So it's not about men and women, it's about the different qualities that's important for us as a society and as an organization. When we did our presentation in Maersk, we used an iceberg, but when he said, but the feminine is not 9/10, it was an engineer that was talking. So it's a wrong picture. Okay, you need to use this float, because a float, there's something visible over the surface, and you can see when it's even, everything is good, but something is underneath the surface that is just as important. So what are we talking about, Lisbeth and I? We're talking about in the society we've created, in the organization we have created, we measure on masculine traits, masculine qualities. And these are visible and it's easy to measure. And our KPI, our key performance indicator, measure on, have you reached your goal? Did you reach your success criteria? And then as a mediator, I've been sitting in a lot of mediation sessions where there was a KPI that was collaboration. And when I asked the organization, how do you measure collaboration? They couldn't answer me. So there's something that is female qualities that is so difficult to measure. And in some ways we stop measuring. We do not have an awareness about it. So what we would like to suggest is that we add KPI that are important with another indicator measuring the female qualities. And we have called it key awareness indicator, where KPI is an outer measurement of what you are giving to the organization. We would like to suggest a key awareness indicator so that is hidden. So it's about yourself, sharing with other people. Do I feel that I'm able to express feminine qualities? And of course, you could get feedback from your team whether there's a place for that in your organization. Female traits we have used, taken some words, but of course there are many, many more words. A lot of people get angry. I made a presentation in Greenland. In Greenland, there's not a language for feminine and masculine. It doesn't exist. And they said, couldn't you use another way of describing this difference in values? Because there's some values that we know are more visible, and there's some other values are not that visible. And we could call it blue and red. Lisbeth and I, we don't mind. What we mind is that there are some values, there are some qualities that have no values in organization because they're not measured. And every one of us knows that what you measure is what you get. So our whole presentation is about the biggest bias we see we have is that there are qualities, whether they are expressed by a man or expressed by a woman, that is not seen, is not worth anything, and it's not part of our organization because we can't measure them. There's a new book called The No Club. It's written by 4 female professors in the States. One of them is actually a woman, yeah. It's a Dane, Lise Vestergaard. Lund, Lise Vesterlund. And what is this book about? It's about 4 female professors that suddenly realized that they did a lot of work that they describe as non-promotable task that matters to your organization, but will not help you advance your career. And what I talk about is all the feminine qualities, the feminine traits, the feminine of taking a holistic responsibility, to be mentoring other people, to be coaching, to secure that the whole team is functioning, to secure that other people are coming on board, and so on. So it's tasks that is so important for the organization, but it's not measured, and it will not help you advance your career. And what they measured in the research study was that women are taking upon themselves 200 hours of this kind of work that is not promotable for your career a year. So 200 hours. And this book is about saying no. And what Lisbeth and I have discussed, what will happen if we start to say no, if we think that feminine qualities is about a woman expressing them. What will happen with our society? What will happen with our organization if we stop having these qualities? And what was so interesting in the study that confirmed the theory that Lisbeth and I have is that when women were not present in the organization, the men could do the task just as fine as the women. So it's nothing to do with gender. It's about there are certain qualities, traits that we expect women to fulfill. And maybe we, by our cultural upbringing, we have taken it upon ourselves. But think a moment about what will our society look like if we don't have these qualities? What will our society look like if they succeed in the no club? So we will only have one wing. Would it be a nice workplace? Would it be a nice organization to work in? And we, as all of us know, we have the big resignation. Half of the labor in US has stopped their work. In Denmark, it's 1 million people. It's a lot. We are 5 million people altogether. So the big resignation is also about men saying enough is enough. We would like a different kind of work life. What Lisbeth and I have been working on is that, as I said in the start, we want equal rights. Of course, we need equal rights. Where in the day strategy, we need diversity where we have quotas. We need equity where we secure the women in talent programs. We need inclusion, so we moves around gender, but it's not enough. We also need an interest-based strategy, a strategy that is focusing on equal worth. Not equal worth between the gender, but equal worth between the masculine principle, the masculine traits, the masculine qualities, and the feminine traits, the feminine qualities, and the feminine values. So they will be of equal value. So what are we talking about? The diversity is about this bias we have towards feminine qualities, that we will have an awareness about it, that we start to measure it in such a way that we would create an awareness about it to supplement the KPI with that. And the third one is that we create an organization that includes feminine and masculine values of being of equal worth for the organization. And the goal is equal worth. Are you with the definition between equal rights and equal worth? And I will pass it over to Lisbeth. Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a good thing to start talking about bias, starting with this little riddle. There's a father and his son. They are in a car accident. The father dies, and the son is rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, the surgeon looks at the boy and says, "I can't operate on this boy. He's my son. How can this be?" Oh, sorry. The mom, yes. Can you take this for me? I'm not that technical. Yeah, it's the mom. But if 20 years ago, when you ask people about this, people would sit for a while, and it's an old one, you know, and they'd be thinking, I don't have the answer. And maybe some would think, maybe it's a stepfather. So this is an example of how stereotypes and bias are closely connected, and how we have to have huge data to change our mindset. Just to make a start about how deep bias is in us. Okay, this is the headline, like it or not, we are all biased. You are all biased. This headline is very essential for working with bias, because most of us will think we're much more rational than we are in the real life. Because our brain, it loves habits. And it tends to stick to the unconsciously. So when we have to change things, even if it's in me, my system, or the organization as a system, we have to make some transforming steps. And the first step is to be aware and accept that we are biased. All of us are biased. And then as the next step, then we have to try to find out with data and facts hey, where in my system as an organization or as a person am I biased, especially? Where's it dominating? And as the last and final, we'll have to make some chances, some strategies, and implement another kind of thinking and doing in our organization. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why are we doing that? Why is it so difficult? There was a very well-known professor and Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman. Maybe some of you have heard about him. He's talking about that we have system 1 and system 2, that our brain is functioning in 2 ways. And system 1 is the unconscious bias. That's where they are, and that's why we are so unconscious about our bias. You can see it shown by a rabbit. It's the quick system. And most of the time, the attitudes and views we have, we're not even aware of that we're doing those things. It's quite quickly and automatically. And it's necessary for us as human. You know, if I had to stop thinking there's coming a car right in front of me and I think, should I move? Should I not move? What would happen? Then I would die or get hurt at least. So it's necessary for us to have this kind of thinking. And most of our thinking the whole day is like system 1. We would be very tired. But when we have to work with our bias and accept that we are biased, we have to go to the system 2. And you can see that's a turtle. It's a slow one. And in system 2, we can start being logical, rational. It's here in our frontal. And that's where we can talk, and nothing is wrong or right. It's how we can find out and be aware of our ways of thinking and find out that much of it is biased. It's not documented. It's not factor. Okay, let's take some fun examples of what we should call it on bias in organization. This is what we call the Great Danish Paradox. It's about the representation of women in leadership. And when we ask this question in Denmark, 58% they will say that gender equality in leadership has already been achieved. That's what they are believing. So in reality in Denmark, it's only 29% that's filled by women. So that's interesting. It's just a third, and we believe it's more than half. So we have a negative gap in Denmark, you should say, between what we believe. We are very biased in Denmark. We think, oh, we are equal, all of us. That's fine. We're just going ahead. Everything is good. But as a matter of fact, we are very far away from what we believe. And then let's turn to Sweden, our dear neighbor land. In Sweden, most of you may know that it's one of the countries in the world who's come most far with equal. See, in Sweden, you can see it's lower. In Sweden, 38% believes that when they have the question that equality in leadership has already been achieved. And have a look, in reality, it's bigger. So it's almost half in reality. And then they have a positive gap. So in Sweden, they're more realistic. They're even more a little bit pessimistic. So they are where they believe they're not so biased. So this just to tell us that in Denmark we have a huge symbolic paradox and bias when we talk women in leadership. And I think there's a lot of different question underneath. Yeah, and the next one, quite interesting and shocking, I must say. This is about the military. As you may know, the military is one of the places where you test most and you use objectives. And if you have a look, there's no difference between gender in for example, grades, scores, fitness scores and classes. But when they came to the personal, subjective evaluations, they were very, very different, quite shocking. Because have a look, here you have managers and the words they describe men, like here, and here, how are the words they describe women. And as you can see, like here, the blue, the positive, There's 10 blue and 2 yellow negative about the men. So 83% of the words about men in the subjective evaluation is positive. Then we turn to the women. That's not so nice, because in the evaluation and the words to describe women, you see the opposite. There's only 4 out of 16, and that means 25% of the words used about women in the evaluation, personal evaluation, is positive. So just to say, 83% and 25% for women. Quite interesting. What do you think? I could ask you in another way. If you have to choose between the man and the woman, he would have 10 positive attitudes, and maybe he would have to work with development, personal development, about being arrogant and irresponsible. But maybe we would hire him. But what about the woman? Would you hire a woman? She has 10 negative things and 4 positive. And the one, it's in order of frequency. Inept, do you know what inept is? It's totally incompetent. Will anyone hire totally incompetent women? Look at totally incompetent, arrogant. Quite different. Maybe we would hire. Sorry? Yeah? Yeah. So, what do you think? Shocking, I think.
And I just want to add something to this presentation, this research study, is that when you see the words on the left-hand side, those are the masculine qualities. The positive, healthy masculine qualities. And a woman could just as good as a man be embodying these qualities, but they're not being evaluated according to these qualities. Those are the feminine, positive qualities. And on the other hand, here you have all the unhealthy, negative feminine qualities. So again, as I said in the start, that you think that a woman, that is about the feminine qualities, a man is about the masculine qualities. So even in the American military, they're evaluating people according to these qualities. So important to know the bias.
Can you change? Oh. Yeah. And then the last one, and I've called it the labor market caste system, because this analysis, it's a new Danish analysis, and it's very interesting because in Denmark, as you might know, we have a gender gap in wages. It's about 14%. That the women is paid lower in wages than men. And if you go to make and look about how it is when you are homosexual men, then you will see that a men who are either married or living in a partnership, they earn 15% less than a heterosexual man. That's like almost the same as women. And the interesting thing is that the homosexual women living in partnership are better paid even than the heterosexual men. Why that? Okay. This Professor Bjarke Oxland in Copenhagen University, he has an interesting comment. He says, we must assume that employers like a more so-called masculine behavior. According to the analysis, it is also rewarded in homosexual women who are better paid than the heterosexuals. So it's not the homosexual orientation in itself that triggers a negative discrimination. So what he says is that the masculinity virtues, they are rewarded in our system, our organizations, whereas the feminine virtues are punished. So that's what the data is showing.
And that, we believe, is only proving our case that it's not about gender, okay? It's about masculine and feminine qualities. But you will get a chance afterwards in smaller group to discuss this, because this is, I know it's a daring ride, I know it's a different way of looking at it, And it's daring in that way that no one wants sorry, to talk about feminine and masculine qualities. This is another study. If you look at a equal rights strategy, it's about having the equal amount of men and women in a workplace, isn't it? So even in a workplace where you have the equal amount or more women than men in the workplace, women are still being put in a situation where the masculine qualities of being outspoken, having authorities, show you accomplishment and not boasting, but not belittling yourself is not accepted. So I repeat, even though we have an equal rights movement, we would like to create equal amounts of women and men in a workplace. Women are not allowed to express healthy masculine qualities. This is healthy masculine qualities because it's healthy to speak up. It's important to speak up. And it's important to show your accomplishment, because if you work in a team, you have to show what you're worth to the team and how you can support the team. And it's important to have a voice. So even though you have a workplace where you have as many men as women, it's not enough. So therefore, the equal rights strategy is not enough, sorry to say. You can hear I'm a lawyer by background, can't you? I rest my case now. But then someone will say, oh, come on, Tina, our brain is not the same. A female brain is not the same as a male brain. We are different in our biology. We look different and so on. But the latest research in our brain shows that our brain is exactly the same. Exactly the same. So you can go into the work. There's a nice TED talk by Gina Ribbon, a researcher into the brain, where she informs about that our brain is totally the same. So it's a cultural upbringing that a woman is supposed to show the female qualities. And now we go into the no club, so that will not be present anymore. And the men have to show the masculine qualities. This is a template. Lisbeth and I and the group in Fly as One, as we call our movement, have been working with this to find which quality could you call masculine, which qualities could you call feminine. And of course, there's also a healthy part of it, and there's an unhealthy part of it. And if you look into it and you think about the slide Lisbeth shared with you about the American military, you can see a lot of the positive, healthy, masculine qualities is rewarded in the feedback to men, but not to women. And if you look at all the unhealthy female qualities, they are attached to women in the feedback process there. And if you look at it into the unhealthy masculine qualities as being aggressive, boasting, dominating, vain, and so on, my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, is that even you can become a president of America of showing some of these qualities. You see it in different places around the world where you have these masculine, unhealthy qualities, and you can go to the top with it. But I do not know if it was a woman, if it would be possible. So what Lisbeth and I have tried to do is to show to you that there is something that is masculine and feminine traits, that our belief is that it's more easy accepted and measured in an organization, the masculine traits and our value, and the feminine traits or qualities are not seen and is not accepted or included in your negotiation about your salary. So what we would like you to do now is in smaller groups to discuss which trait do I express and honor, masculine or feminine. I'm not talking about gender. I'm talking about which traits do you on a personal level express. And the other question, which traits do you see your organization is able to to include, and also to honor. So these are two questions. So if we give you 10 minutes just to discuss in small groups, and the people watching remote, you can see the camera here. Please take a piece of paper and a pencil and write down your own reflection, and then we will later make a harvesting follow-up. So please, 10 minutes. So welcome back again. We hope that you had some good discussions and dialogue about this question about feminine and masculine qualities. We would very much appreciate to have some reflections from you after your group work. So who would like to say something about what they discussed? Was it a secret? There's an additional microphone here, so please share with each other, because this is not an easy journey. It's not easy for either Lisbeth and me and stand here talk about, because in some ways it's, are you shooting yourself in your foot when you start to talk about feminine qualities and so on? But in my opinion, we cannot avoid talking about it, and we need to talk about it. If we want to really get rid of some of our biggest bias, we have to talk about it. And maybe we would agree upon that we do not need female traits or qualities in an organization. It's okay, or if that is our opinion, it's okay. But we need to talk about it. A bias is unconscious. So we need to make a conscious choice in this. So please share with you what you discussed in your group. So should we just put the microphone around? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things we discussed towards the end was how we define qualities as either masculine or feminine. Who should tell us whether being vain is a masculine quality or a female quality, or being protective or caring? And is it not the case that they're kind of more on a spectrum, and that whether they're masculine or feminine qualities, people will have some from all parts of that scale, not necessarily just displaying the ones linked to one group or another? Where I think I'd prefer the Greenland version of it being red and blue. But even there, you've probably got purple in the middle of some type of spectrum of these qualities.
Great question, and it's something we've been discussing too, because we hope that one day we do not have to talk about feminine and masculine qualities. And we would very much like to avoid this separation between the two kind of qualities. But what we see is a pattern, and what is feminine and what is masculine. And we do not think that we can just put it up in an Excel and then say this is this and this is that. This is not black, white. And therefore, I think the most important thing is that we start to have a dialogue about what is feminine qualities, what are masculine qualities, or otherwise a discussion about are there qualities that is not being included in our organization, whether we call them masculine or the feminine qualities. But great question, and this is the first step on a journey. So I do not hope this is this is an ongoing dialogue that we need to have and that we haven't had before. So yes, I agree with you, and I understand your a kind of frustration, because it could be, if you go to Wikipedia, if you go to Jung, the psychologist, you will see that there's something called female and masculine and so on. So there is no bottom line, there's no result. So this is a very female way of doing it, a very process-oriented way of doing it, to say we go on a journey, we go on this journey together. It's not about men and women and we hate each other or we compete with each other, but we go, we fly as one, we go as a pair, we go as a human being and say which quality do we want to have. We have example of countries like Africa that is a very, or have been before it was colonized, very matriarchal, what do you call it? It was a female leadership you had in Africa beforehand, with a lot of female qualities as a tribe. So tribal values are very based on female qualities. Other questions, other observation, other discussion you had? Yeah.
So this is from Andrew Fenn. He said, male gender norms in male-dominated workplaces are extremely damaging to health. Even those listed on the side as being healthy have damaging mental health effects.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd like to use this one here. Oh, this one. I'm not friend with this one. As you can see, when people get sick and we see a lot of stress, depression, and unhealthy things in the organization and society, it's about the female traits which is missing. And we would say it's because it's very difficult to measure. We measure on KPI, but when you need to have, for example, psychological safety, I think you know that word, it's about security. You have to be secure to be open to other, to have trust. So it's difficult for us to use those things if we're not trusting. So we have to honor them much more, reward them, because that will bring even more creativity. We will feel better. We'll feel meaningfulness. That's one of the most certain thing to make people be productive. So we would say that if we use and turn off and have more turn on the feminine traits, we will have more success and more healthy organizations. So I agree.
Thank you. In our group, I think along the lines of what Joe said before, I think also used to be distinguishing more between maybe hard and soft skills, but we were having the discussion that it's not either or. It's really important that it's both, because also from a company perspective, if you want to drive performance, then pure what you call feminine qualities will probably not do the trick. And at least our conclusion was, the more you start working with people and leadership, I think you find out that that's just not going to work without the soft or feminine skills. Or of course, you have leaders that may not practice it so much, but the good leaders we have all tap into, as you also came with the Obama example. And if we look to our company, I think the sort of development that we're towards is that there's more and more focus on leadership and the qualities that takes to that. So I think that's a positive journey.
Yeah, so good to hear. And as we said in the start, this is a journey, and we are on the journey, and we have an eye open about we need these qualities, and we have to use these qualities, all of us, whether we call them feminine or masculine, it doesn't matter, but these are qualities that we need in our organization. And as Lisbeth said beforehand, if we don't have them, there will be more sickness, there will be more stress, it will be a hard organization to work with. And all studies shows that the best workplaces have both female and masculine qualities of importance. Yeah.
I would like to say, maybe it's a bit provoking, but I think what you were saying, we have to have more upstanders when we talk diversity. Bystanders, they're talking a lot about diversity, and it's easy to talk. It's easy to write an article and say, yeah, that's right. But the bystanders, they don't change. So if we are upstanders, then we would help our colleagues. And I would say maybe, oh, what you said that, maybe you're a little bit biased. So we have to be upstanders in our daily life together with each other. Do you see the difference? Bystanders and upstanders. There's a lot of talk about, like some talk about greenwashing, the new is pinkwashing or rainbow washing. So we have to help each other. It's not about being good or wrong. It's about bias situations. We have to be upstanders and tell each other. I think I read a book some month ago, and I thought, wow, I was so biased, because when I was young, I always said, I don't like being together with girls. I like the boys. I want to be with the boys. And I chose working places with boys. But I was telling that girls as a group, as a feminine, was not okay. So we have a lot of bias, even when we don't believe. So try to help each other to be upstanders instead of bystanders.
And when you look at different organizations, I've been working with an organization working with atomic waste research. And when they saw this presentation, they say, but Tina, we are a male-oriented organization, a lot of engineering and researcher, but our values are based on the feminine, because we need those values, because we cannot make fast decisions. We really have to go slow. We are looking into security. We have a lot of dialogue to secure that we are not making any mistakes and so on. So it's an ongoing dialogue. Which kind of organization do we want? What is important in our organization to have our values, depending on which organization? And then it has nothing to do with gender. It's about securing an environment where we include it and with an awareness about what we are doing. Yeah, there's another remark here. Yeah.
I often think of Hillary Clinton as a really interesting example, because her policy was very female focused. It was children and families and helping their lives. But she was perceived as this woman's pantsuit and very driven. And the perception of her is, I just don't like her. I don't know what it is, but I just don't like her. And when I see other female prime ministers, I'm wondering how much of that is there. It's this perception of there's just something about her.
And then it's just on the point, because it is our secret bias that if women start to express something in a masculine suit, then it will be more difficult. But if we have an awareness about this, maybe it gets much easier for women to express masculine qualities and not. Or a man needs to express feminine qualities. Did you know that Jimmy Carter wasn't elected as a president the second term? Because he was talking about the crisis in Iran, and he was starting to cry. And everyone saw it. So they said he cannot become our next president because he's too emotional. But that's a long time ago. And I'm sure if Obama was crying and everyone was seeing it, it would be okay. So as the example that Lisbeth shared about the surgeon being a woman, a lot of things have changed, and that is amazing. We have some more, a few more slides we just want to share with you before we go to a Q&A session. I hope it's okay. Yeah. But what are we saying? It's what we are trying to put out is a discussion about, is it enough with our KPIs? Are then able to measure something that is invisible? Do we need to add on another indicator that it will be more an inside evaluation with yourself, if you're able to express yourself as a whole human being with both wing, being able to express both your masculine and your feminine wing, whether you have one gender or another gender or 72 gender. It doesn't matter, you're allowed to express it. So you will start to create a key awareness indicator where you have a possibility also to express feminine traits. On your tables there are this writing we have tried to create as a fly manual. So what to do, how to get starting with this process and these dialogues, and what each of us can do. You can look into the slides. The one attending remotely can look at the slide again. So this is some things we could start to have these kinds of dialogues and try to make space for both masculine and feminine qualities. And maybe you know this one. This is from Japan. They have this famous crossing where you can go straight, where you can work for equal rights between men and women. I'm talking about gender now. Equal rights between the two different kinds of genders, or whatever amount of genders. And we could add on equal worth, and we could go either side. So whether you are showing healthy masculine traits in men or healthy masculine traits in women, or you're showing healthy feminine traits in a man, or you are showing healthy feminine traits in women, it's an equal worth to the organization. So this is what we are talking on to add on an equal worth strategy for an organization and start to talk about it, because it's not cast in stone that this is feminine and this is masculine, but it is that there are some qualities that in some ways are hidden or not be taken into account, and it's not giving you a higher salary or appraisal in your job interview or when you are interviewed for a job. Is there something I should add, Lisbeth? No, fine. So this is what we have started with. We have said this is a movement because it's an ongoing dialogue to try to find out, are there some qualities in our life, in our organization, in us as human beings that we are not allowed to express. And my husband, he got very happy. He was a CEO of a big company in Denmark, and he was so fed up with me talking about female rights and women's rights and so on. And my son as well, and I published a book about it. And when he heard about Fly as One, he said, wow, and his shoulders went down. Now I'm included. I'm included on this journey. And he expressed a lot of feminine qualities as well, as I know Lisbeth's husband is doing. Yeah. So we would like to go to a Q&A session. I do not know how much time do we have left. 1 minute? Wow. So, okay, yes, you started that. That's the reason. So we have 3 minutes. So.
Yes, so we have one question online, and it says, in your experience, why is it that so often a woman who is as assertive as a man is often branded aggressive, yet a man would be commended for being assertive?
Yeah, and this is a bit to do with what you shared beforehand, that it's easier for a man to express masculine value than it is for a woman to express masculine values. So, and as the study said beforehand, that it's not allowed in women. And I believe, please add on, Lisbeth, that it's a bias. And we have to talk about it, and we have to create an awareness about it to allow women to express healthy masculine value in the same way that men are allowed to. So it's like a play, it's like a board, like you play Monopoly. So this is like a board. And if you are a woman, you're only allowed to play in one corner of the board, healthy masculine traits. But even though you only play in that corner, you are not wholly accepted as the one asking the question is raising.
There is a lot of things happening in our language. You should try start looking at the way we talk about things, because boys will have, if they cry, oh, don't act like a girl, and be like a boy. So there's, even though when we grow up, there's a lot to pick up and be able to see in a more clear way if we just have a look at our language. There's so much bias in our language. So it's more normal to be aggressive when you're a boy. It's not okay to be aggressive if you're a girl still.
Yes, anyone else who would like to ask a question?
Yeah. So what I would like to suggest that we end this session with just one word that each of you say. So what do you take from this session? Would that be okay? So if we start the microphone here, what do you take from this session?
Can I say 2 and say speak up?
I'll also say 2, raise awareness.
Be aware of your biases.
Yeah, to realize that I have bias.
Yeah, so be aware. That's mine.
Yeah, be aware as well and be an upstander.
I think mine would be that the different traits are actually extremely efficient when combined.
As came out of our discussion, the word holistic will stick with me for a while.
Okay. It takes both wings.
Look for balance.
Be aware.
Even bias can be bias.
A repeat, balance and be aware.
To embrace both masculine and feminine qualities.
KAI.
Be aware.
And I would also say be aware.
Think inwards.
Equality.
Awareness and openness.
So thank you so much for taking this journey with us, going on a journey in a hidden territory. First step, haven't gone all the way. So thank you, and thank you for inviting us, Bettina.
Yes, thank you very much for this interesting and interactive discussion and presentation. That was very good. And I think we all learned that we are all biased, but we can work with it and try to make a strategy. So thank you very much for learning us that. Bye-bye.